I'm Pastor Steve Talmage at Love of Christ Lutheran Church in Mesa, Arizona, and each week, Pastor Nanette Christofferson or I provide a brief introduction to two of the assigned readings for Sunday. We're going to look at the Gospel for Sunday, August 3rd, 2025. We continue in the Gospel according to Luke. We're in chapter 12, verses 13 to 21. The context of our lesson is Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem for Holy Week. So we're towards the end of his public ministry, his 3-year public ministry. He's left Bethany and Martha and Mary's house. He continues to teach, exorcise demons, and tell stories. We see that Jesus is popular at the beginning of chapter 12, verse 1, when a crowd of many thousands are gathering around him. He teaches to stand firm in their confession of who he is before others who threaten or challenge them. He exhorts his followers to trust in the Holy Spirit to provide the words when opposition from authorities rise. So we have a lot of building drama and, a lot of parables are going to be offered to reinforce key teachings. But Jesus also is letting his people know there's going to be opposition because things are going to come to head with Good Friday, and Holy Week. So, a word about what it means to be rich. This is our lesson for this week, and it links into our Ecclesiastes reading in the first lesson for this Sunday. Verses 13 to 15. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Friend, who sent me to be a judge or arbitrator over you?" And he said to them, "Take care, be on guard against all kinds of greed. For one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions." Boy, are we familiar with this? Maybe you've had the sad experience of being in a family settlement conversation around the division and distribution of the assets of a family member. Particularly, if there's no will, there's going to be problems. But even if there is a will or there is a trust, there's often feelings of some are getting more than others, and families often have division and hard feelings that are created by any sense of unfairness or inequity or a sense of favoritism. So Jesus goes on after this individual says, "Make sure I get my fair share, Jesus." He tells a little parable. The land of a rich man produced abundantly. And he thought to himself, "What should I do? For I have no place to store my crops." Then he said, "I will do this. I'll pull down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I'll say to my soul, 'Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry.'" We have the unholy trinity illustrated in this little parable, because what's the focus of the main character, the rich man? He's prosperous. He's done well. He's been successful in managing his farm and all that. And there has been material prosperity given to him. But in the end here, who's the focus? It's me, myself, and I. So I call that the unholy trinity. Pronouns and perspective matter. Verse 20 of our lesson. But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be?" The Ecclesiastes lesson assigned to this Sunday also speaks to the reality that death is the great equalizer. And many of us go through life simply accumulating and amassing and collecting. And then at the end, whose are those things going to be? Because we are going to die. And in this case, the guy is going to die never able to enjoy all that he has amassed. And so this question is, whose will they be? And going back to that earlier unholy trinity, when we recognize that daily bread and daily breath are a gift from God, we recognize everything that we are privileged to enjoy, everything we're privileged to experience, everything that we're privileged to manage are gifts given by a gracious God. And every day that we have on this planet is an opportunity to give thanks to God and to live our lives and use what God has provided us in ways that are a blessing to others. But if all we're thinking about is how can I get this for me, myself, and I, or my little circle of family, at the expense of caring about our neighbor, or putting God into the formula at all, we get asked this question. When our life is being demanded of us, whose is all this stuff going to be? Where do we find ultimate security? So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves but are not rich towards God. Whether you're the richest person on the planet or the poorest person on the planet, all of us can be rich towards God. By acknowledging God as God, we are not. By acknowledging daily bread and daily breath are a gift from God. By acknowledging the abilities, the resources and gifts that have been entrusted to me have been given by a gracious, generous God to be used not just to bless myself or my family, but to be a blessing to others. So where do we find ultimate security? If our security is rooted in our bank account, our financial sheets, the home that we may live in or have built, or any other kind of material thing that we get security from, ultimately it's all going to be gone. And so where do we find that security? Luke is going to say, through Jesus, it's going to be in our relationship with God. Our ultimate security is always going to rest in the one who made us, who saves us, who comes to be with us. Dr. David Lewis writes, can our wealth secure a relative degree of comfort? Certainly. And this lesson isn't a condemnation of us who've been privileged enough to live a level of affluence that most in the world will never know. But then he asks, can it grant to us confidence that we are worthy of love and honor and in right relationship with God and neighbor? Certainly not. Our material symbols, signs, demonstrations of arriving in this world do nothing as far as reflecting our relationship with God and our neighbor. How we manage and utilize those gifts and resources that we may be privileged to accumulate, those assets and resources that can be used not just to provide for ourselves, but can actually be a blessing to the world, be a blessing to the larger community, are a clear demonstration that our trust is not in those things, but it is in our God. So as Lewis goes on to say, only as we recognize that the gifts of ultimate worth, dignity, meaning, and relationship are just that, gifts offered freely by God, can we hope to place our relative wealth in perspective and be generous with it toward others. One of the great liberations of being a Christian is that our worth and value rests in the image that God has created us in and in the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, who died for the whole world. That's where our peace, that's where our assurance, that's where our confidence rests. It's not whether I have $1 million in the bank, or I live in a castle, or I've made it in the signs of what the world calls making it. Our hope is in the ability to demonstrate a life lived with gratitude and generosity and acknowledging every day is a gift from God. And I'm called to steward and manage the life that I've been given, the abilities I've been given, the resources that pass through my hand, and to use them not just for myself, but to use them in ways that God leads and directs me to be a blessing to the world. Take care. God bless.